Hey, everybody. Welcome today to today's Autoimmune Table Talk. I'm Maggie, MD, functional and holistic medicine physician, the creator of the Transform Protocol to turn around autoimmune disease naturally. Today's hot topic, we're going to be talking about kids and autoimmunity. And the big question is going to be kids. Why do they present a unique opportunity for prevention for those of you with autoimmunity? And how do kids already with autoimmunity present a unique case for a unique intervention in dealing with autoimmunity? Back for that shortly. Hey, everybody, I'm Maggie, MD, and I am a functional and holistic medicine MD, and I am the creator of Transform Protocol for turning around your autoimmune disease naturally. Today, we are having a big topic all around children and kids. And why I wanted to bring this up is because I really think we've had a lot of questions in our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, around this in the last couple of weeks. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, click the link to join the Facebook group. It's free. And there's tons of bonus trainings and educational videos just like this in there. If you're following us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified every time I go live. If you're on Instagram watching this, make sure you give us a follow. Now, to the question, let's go back to the meat of this question, which is what's in the Facebook group. Julie B just did a post today, and her post was, anyone here with Wegener's? My 18-year-old has just been diagnosed. Parents are really struggling, not only with their own autoimmune issues, they may or may not have it, but then we got kids, 18-year-old right now with Wegener's, and it is scary as a parent to deal with your kid with autoimmunity, right? We also have Rich K, who says, anyone experienced with kids, my 8-year-old, being asked to go on biological medication to treat potential ankylosing spondylitis. Are the side effects as bad as I believe have read online? This is a big issue because the only guns we have to treat autoimmune disease are big guns. And we got little guys and little girls, 8 years old, being diagnosed with big autoimmune diagnosis and big drugs. So parents are really in a quandary because in addition to, I mean, I can understand you having your own autoimmune issues, but what about when you see your kid have a known autoimmune issue? Those of you that are watching live right now who want to join in on this conversation, please, I would love if you're a parent of a child with autoimmune issues, tell me in chat about this. Put some details in the comment section. I'd love to know more. Our team is going to be able to reach out and give you some resources. That is one camp, right? Parents who are really struggling with kids with known autoimmune issues. On the other camp, many of you are watching this. You have autoimmune issues. And you've wondered, and you already know with your gut check and your heart check, that autoimmunity is a genetic issue. You already know that your kids are at much higher risk data-wise. And number two, you're already starting to see signs that you're already wondering, or in your gut, you already know, I think that's an early sign of autoimmunity. So there's a second camp here, which is of parents, which are, I have an autoimmune disease, and now I wonder if some of my children's symptoms are early autoimmune related. What should I be watching out for? And how can I prevent my child from ever turning into having an autoimmune disease, right? So parents with kids who don't have an autoimmune yet are really interested in what are early signs and what can I do to prevent them ever having that diagnosis. How many of you are in that category? I would love to hear from you in the comments section. Can't hear you. Please, if you're an alumni of one of our programs, if your child has been through our program, you're a parent and you've been through our program and it has benefited your child, I'd love for you in the comment section just to tell people about your experience and to share, if you're an alumni, what were some of the issues for you or your child and what were some of the results? Type it in the chat. This is a comment. Type it in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you if you're an alumni. That being said, I'm also going to share a couple things, which is that I have actual, Transform Autoimmune has been, our online program has been going on for about 4 years. We've had over at least 1,000 clients go through our program with incredible results and outcomes, right? And so we had a lot of parents who've been dealing with autoimmunity. So I just wanted to screen share really quickly a couple of like what are some of the results of parents who have been through the program, and what kind of results have they gotten. So I'm going to share some real results here. Dana Lando, Dana actually, she just had an interview, if you haven't seen it already, with her daughter Claire, young adult daughter Claire, and Claire had Crohn's, and Dana said, I just completed the 2-month Transform Autoimmune program, and for the first time in 3.5 years, we understand the problem and know how to address the underlying causes. And I'm going to shout out to Dana because she just posted some results actually from the recent stool testing, which showed that inflammatory marker labs were like way down. So congratulations to Claire and Dana. If you guys are struggling with Crohn's yourself, or you have a child who does, type in the comment section. Our team would be happy to share the video that Claire and Dana just did, going into details about what turned it around for them, right? Real people, real outcomes. That's going to be really important. You need proof, man, right? Amanda says that I've gone through, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Amanda says, if I had not gone through Dr. Maggie's program, my daughter would still be sleeping 14 hours a day, have little energy for school and activities, gaining weight, dealing with horrible acne. And it turned out that she had severe adrenal fatigue, thyroid issues, right? This is the kind of stuff your typical pediatrician just don't know how to deal with, or even your endocrinologist. This is a Hashimoto's young adult, right? Her pediatrician told us that her thyroid levels were fine and that we just need to wait and see. Yeah, you're going to wait and see while your daughter sleeps 14 hours a day, right? No, not this mom, right? Wait until her thyroid is dead and then she can take medication. Sad face. Unfortunately, when it comes to chronic issues, we have sick care, not health care. Reach out to this team and alumni. Thank you, Amanda, for that comment. And we also have Sarah, who recently shared an experience. She went through our program, and this is her 3-year-old. And in here, she says, one of the biggest blessings that has also come out of this program is that I have been able to help my 3-year-old daughter. She's always had horrible stomach pains and would frequently be on the floor crying and rolling around in pain. I've talked with her doctor about this, and we have tried several things, but nothing helped. In my testing, I discovered that I had a high significant sensitivity to gluten and learned this was genetic. I removed gluten from my daughter's diet, and she hasn't had any stomach issues in weeks. I'm grateful for all that I've learned in the community I've found. Thank you, Dr. Maggie. So let me go ahead and stop the screen share. I just want to share with you guys that there is a very different way to do this, whether you're interested in intervening in your child already with autoimmune issues, or you're trying to prevent autoimmune issues with your children, right? Clearly, what we're doing right now in conventional medicine for autoimmunity sucks for us adults already. But then again, for children, it's even worse because they're not good at communicating. Pediatricians are poorly trained. And then number 3, we have completely missed the boat on early signs of autoimmunity that are completely linked to higher risk of autoimmune disease, in my opinion. So I'm going to dive right in here, and we're going to go into, first thing first is, let's talk about the prevention category, right? All of you that are interested in prevention for your kids, if you could type what your autoimmune struggles are and what you're trying to prevent in your kids, or what early signs are, put in the comment section. I'm curious. And just looking here in the comment section, we got Lizzie, who says that she has sciatica, would like more information. Great. Thank you, Lizzie. And check your message request for a message from our team in a couple hours for some resources. And Brenda F says, I am an alumni, but see issues in my child. She has not been through the program yet. Great. Lindsay says, yes, I'm concerned about autoimmune with my child. He already potentially has hormone issues, thinking this could be autoimmune connection. I'm currently in the program. I love that parents here are making connections in the program. They're actually already seeing early warning signs, literally 20 years. I call this killing Godzilla while he's an egg. I mean, rather than waiting for Godzilla to damage all around town, this is killing Godzilla while it's an egg. I love that. We got Chris R., who is an alumni in the program in here. That's wonderful. And Sky says, food sensitivity, thyroid issues, hormone imbalances, an alumni in the program. These are the issues that have been turned around for her. So let's dive in right now. I would love to talk about what are some, if you're an autoimmune parent and you want to know what are some signs of autoimmunity that I should be on the lookout for in my child that are precursors to autoimmune disease. Start getting your pens and pencils out and take some notes, okay? Because what I'm about to say, I would say nobody else has really said. Okay. Because this is from my own experience. I'm a physician for 24 years, maybe 25 at this point. First 10 years as a family medicine doctor. I got sick with autoimmune disease. I was much later, diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And both my children had severe issues relating with their health that I know now are autoimmune related. Back then I didn't. I just thought my kids had a lot of health issues. So let's dive in. Let's share my experience as a parent myself and as a teacher in the program Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, what I'm teaching our clients. So number one is autism spectrum disorder. I can already tell you right now, I have a child on the spectrum, and many of you with autoimmunity are looking at me like bing, 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 bing right now, and you should look at me like bing, bing, ding, ding, ding right now. And the reason is that autoimmune mothers and fathers have a much higher chance of helping children who are in the autism spectrum, and also ADD and ADHD. And that's from my experience. Okay. And this is an experience where I gathered a lot of autoimmune parents. I had one of the clinics with the biggest autoimmune population, functional clinics in Oregon that had the biggest autoimmune population. People brought their kids to me, and many of them had spectrum issues, autism spectrum, and they also have ADD, ADHD symptoms. These are hugely linked with future risk of autoimmunity. And I already know this. You know why? How many of you have autoimmune issues and have been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD? How many of you have had severe brain fog, right? How many of you, even looking back when you were a child, had behavioral issues? Okay, that you can now clearly see there's a link from childhood to now, right? And I just had a conversation with a bunch of my alumni about this, about how often, too, many people with autoimmune disease, adults, are also misdiagnosed with having ADD, bipolar disorder, severe anxiety, depression, because a lot of these are actually targets of autoimmune attack and symptoms relating with autoimmunity not treated properly, not reversed properly. So in our children, I'm going to tell you that autism spectrum, we will find in 5-10 years, you're going to see, oh my gosh, there's actually genetic testing to show you the gene that's linked with autoimmune disease and autism spectrum. There's just a much higher rate. So don't take autism spectrum disorder lightly, or ADD, ADHD lightly in your kid as a separate disorder. These are red flags for big autoimmune issues later. And which is why, for me, this population could be really benefit from a root cause approach at a very young stage to intervene, because their likelihood of rebound and permanent damage is, their likelihood of rebound is so much higher. Their risk for permanent damage is also much lower. So it's a very unique population with which your interventions are going to very quickly see some results. And what you're preventing is huge very early in the game. So interestingly, we have had many parents with kids with autism spectrum go through our program. We also have had parents who themselves or their kids have ADHD and have seen huge dramatic turnaround with the root cause approach. Because if you think about it, conventional medicine for autism spectrum is really no treatment, medications for some of the symptoms, and psychotherapy or PT or OT to help with some of these physical symptoms, but nothing to stop it. And it's really god awful. The loneliest thing is to be a parent of a sick kid, right? Mandy just told me that today, one of our alumni who's graduating with a 9-year-old daughter who just went through our program. Mandy was telling me that being a parent of a sick child is the loneliest thing on the planet, especially when you feel like nobody else knows what the hell they're talking about, what they're doing, and they don't even understand there's an autoimmune link to this. So interestingly, I could have renamed the program, right? Currently, the program is called Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, but I could have easily renamed the program Transform Autism Naturally or Transform ADHD Naturally, because those two groups these symptoms are so autoimmune related, and a root cause approach to autoimmunity can turn these symptoms around very quickly in adults and in children, period. Okay. So don't miss those signs, because the rates of both ADHD and autism spectrum is sky high with one parent with autoimmunity. Now, the other thing that I don't want to underscore is allergies. All of you guys with adults with autoimmune knows that if your immune system is already mistaking parts of your own body as a germ and is trying to kill it, what do you think is the likelihood it's going to mistake food as a germ and try to battle and war with food? 100%. So people with autoimmunity has tons of huge allergy issues and environmental allergy issues, and have much more heightened allergy, histamine-related type responses, because their immune system is revved against all these allergens way more than someone who doesn't have an autoimmune disorder. So allergies and autoimmunity totally linked, and we are missing the boat in kids. So how many of you right now, how many is this ringing a bell in your kids? How many of your kids have eczema? How many of your kids have seasonal allergies? Okay. How many of them have seasonal allergies, asthma, food allergies, irritable bowel syndrome, right? How many of them, have these symptoms of allergies and you've gone to the allergist with them, or they have chronic ear infections and sinus infections, allergy related. So if that's your category, type in the comment right now. So I know that I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to you. Type in the comment section. I want to see if this is what you've been seeing in your children. Autoimmune parents have a much higher rate of kids having a hyperallergenic response because their immune system is already hyperactive in a lot of ways against these allergens because they've inherited our genetics. So if this is ringing a bell with you, one of the problems that in rabbit hole I see parents fall into is that these kids will go into tons of asthma medications, daily allergy medications, shots, all that, chronic antibiotics because they have chronic ear infections or skin infections, right? Or they have a lot of irritable bowel syndrome and they're taking drugs or medications, or they're just in tummy pain all the time. These are all allergy related, and that's related to autoimmune issues. Do not miss this in your children. And this is where, I love this. Amanda, who's in our program, says we had eczema, rashes, cradle cap, the works. We were told it was normal. Obviously not normal. Another alumni. And I'd love for Amanda to also type in the comment section what the results she's seen with her children with this also, right? I just had an interview with Mandy A, and her child had Hashimoto's and really severe asthma to the point of like crazy hospitalizations for this and crazy amount of time off, her and her husband, because of the unpredictability of this, not to mention chronic fatigue and anxiety in her child. 2 months later, this is gone. This is all the allergy asthma symptoms have really almost completely abated. And if Mandy's in the audience, if you could type in some of your results, that'd be great. But I think that early intervention is really important in these types of symptoms, right? Even if you don't think your kid has an autoimmune issue, if they have asthma and allergy issues like this, they're at much higher risk. So when you're looking at these symptoms, these that we have diagnosed in the conventional world as allergy, asthma, bowel pain, stress, autism, ADD, think really long and hard about how many specialists you've already seen, how many blood tests you've already had, how much you're running up against, like these are not connected, just take this. And before you know it, your child is on 6 different medications and they're still having a lot of symptoms and the quality of life is starting to really sink. These are early signs of autoimmunity, right? So what are some of the ways that when you do see these symptoms that are early signs of autoimmunity, what can you do to intervene? We're going to talk about it because if it's allergy related, most of this is food and environmental. This is where food mapping in our main program is like key. I cannot emphasize how important it is. The earlier and sooner you do food mapping on your child, this is a unique process to our program, okay? So don't just go out there and do some mail-in order test. It doesn't work, all right? So it is your child's life, and it is preventing Godzilla from becoming Godzilla while he's an egg. So food mapping is something we do in the program, and that gives you exact data on what's triggering the allergy issues in your child, right? And interestingly, we have adult parents who are going through our program, and when they actually get their own results, I tell them, you share 50% of genetics with your child, so 50% of these are going to be your child's allergies. Bing, 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 bing. So even if you don't do this for your child, you do this for yourself, you have data with which to help your child already, which is what Sarah was just sharing. She figured out she had a genetic gluten issue, and that means her child has a 50% chance she removed the gluten and it's gone. Irritable bowel syndrome in her 3-year-old is gone, right? So this is really powerful data that, directly you can do for your child, or you're doing food mapping on yourself because you have an autoimmune disease and you're going through our program. It's going to be like literally pennies on the dollar investment in turning this around for you, but also in your children, right? Big time. So food mapping is a really important part of prevention. The other part of this is I look at ADD, ADHD, right? And autism spectrum. A lot of this is behavioral, which is years of psychotherapy, antipsychotic drugs, antidepressants for our kids, Ritalin and Adderall for our kids, right? And these medications have very high addiction potential and also potential for side effects. Cardiac risk goes up, and they don't actually solve the whole problem. They may deal with one of these symptoms, right? But at the same time, what's the underlying cause? It's an autoimmune trigger. And so for me, like when I look at like even ADD, right? You look at ADD as a diagnosis and you actually look at our 5 pillars. And if you haven't watched our 5 pillars, I am not shitting you right now. Write 5 pillars into the comment section, and our team's going to message you in your message request with a link to watch my 5 pillars training on what are the 5 main triggers of any autoimmune issue, including ADD and autism spectrum. Okay. Those 5 pillars are going to work for those, period. So if you don't know what they are and you're a parent, put 5 pillars right now in the comment section and watch the whole training from beginning to end. Because Mandy told me today that it was watching that training that she brought it to her husband, and she had been researching and Googling it for years. Watching that training was what caused them to really look at this in a very different perspective and get this shit done, literally, right? So type 5 pillars. Sola, thank you for doing that. Amanda just commented in the comment section, we learned my older child, not in the program, has gluten intolerance, not even in the program, right? So this is a family affair when you actually, I call it filtering. So I call us the filter generation. If you, with autoimmune issue, decide right now, I'm gonna book a call and I'm gonna do a pattern interrupt in my autoimmunity. I tell people that you're the filter generation and that in minimum it affects 3 generations. What does that mean? It means that people in your generation, brother, sister, husband, wife, is going to be impacted. Their health is going to change forever, period. From the information that you get that's personalized to you on your data, and from the education that you're going to get, that's a skill set you're going to learn, right? But what about a generation above you? How many of you with autoimmune issues see mom and dad autoimmune messes, right? They're with dementia, they're with Parkinson's, they're with diabetes, they're with high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, depression, anxiety, irritable bowel. How many of you have this issue, see this in the generation above? Well, so many parents have improved because the person that's in the filter generation did this for them. But now in kids, it's to me, kids present a unique situation, right? Like, and it depends on the age group of the kids, right? I call like under a certain age, like captive audience. Like if someone's like under the age of 5 and they're at home, you're 100% in control of how and when they eat and what they eat. And so kids present, when you have data around that, kids present a very unique opportunity, especially if they're in the captive audience age where they don't make much of their own choices around it and you do, right? So that's a very unique age with which they're a captive audience. When they're older, we have many teenagers and young adults in our program. We often have those conversations with parents where I say, hey, would this child benefit from education? If they saw their own data and they understood what that meant, would that actually move them to make changes so that the desire for changes come from within? And not all kids are like that. Many are. And the ones that are, we work with, and they have incredible results. I remember with Dana and Claire was just like that. Claire's a young adult, but Claire was like, I want my data. I want to learn from me. Her and mom went through this program together and kicked ass. Her Crohn's in remission, and all her lab numbers are coming down lower and lower and lower. Why? Because the education and her own personalized data, actually, I call it pushing versus pulling. We as parents are frequently like, I'm going to push them. I'm just going to tell them what to do. Push, push, push. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I like to actually grow in kids and in young adults and teenagers, their internal desire, their own pull to do something. And who was I talking? I was talking to Mandy about this today, about her child with Hashimoto's and asthma. And she was talking about how her 14-year-old, who's not even in the program, asked her this week, because school just came back, is, Mom, can I pack my lunch? The whole family made a decision to avoid the foods that Olivia had issues with. I think gluten was one of the main ones, and then maybe dairy. But the 14-year-old is saying, Mom, can I pack my own lunch? I don't want to eat what's in the school cafeteria. You cannot push someone into doing that. That kind of internal pull from them, which is what we want as parents for our kids, comes from personalized data, education, right, which we do in the program, and thirdly, your example. It's not what you say, it's what you do. So one of the things I want to talk about is like, as a parent, if you yourself have an autoimmune issue, the most powerful thing that you can do is actually take care of your own autoimmune issues. Show them how you're going to get super powerful, getting your own data, your own education, your own mindset changes, how you think. How do we change how our kids think if we don't identify and work on the thinking patterns in us that's keeping us sick, right? So as Mandy was telling me earlier today, she said the mindset work alone, the changes in me and my husband and how we think has completely saved and transformed our entire family. That alone was worth its weight in gold. And I think that's something that I can't underscore here, which is the role of like what I call ancestral trauma, which is like the trauma that has occurred, the health trauma and different types of trauma that exists in families, and how we pass that to our children. Sometimes can doom them or handicap their ability to actually turn around their autoimmune issues. So I find it fascinating. Mandy actually shared a story. Her video won't be live for about 3 weeks. We just recorded today. But she was sharing a story that they had, her husband had, she said, buried a child at the age of 7. So there's a lot of trauma around that, right? And now they have another child who's sick. And she said that they had a suitcase that was packed with Olivia's stuff and their stuff, just in case there was an emergency with her asthma or with her pain that needed a hospitalization, because that's what they threw over and over again. And every morning she'd wake up and see that suitcase sitting there. And it was like a reminder of, oh no, is today that more shit's going to happen? What else is going to go wrong today? And it's this cycle of trauma and fear that was feeding her and her family, right? And in the first week of the program, she actually learned that this was the pattern that she was in. So what example do you think she's passing to her child, right? So it's this whole fear, lack, trauma response, hypervigilance. That's really common, right? Really common. I went through that. When you're dealing with autoimmune issues yourself, or you've had other kids who are sick, or you're going through you have a sick child right now. So for me, a really big component to help prevent autoimmune issue progression or to deal with the sick child is changing your own mindset and being the example. Instead of telling your kids what to do, change how you think, change how you act. You know what? In the middle of the program, she unpacked that suitcase and never looked back. That's the kind of parent you want to be. Not the one who's staring at that suitcase every day and says, is today the day we're going to go to the hospital? What do you think that does? What do you think that manifests? So this really underscores that when people join Transform Autoimmune and they work with me or functional nutritionists, they work on their mindset. This isn't your typical doctor program about your health or your child's health. My mission and my passion is to take a completely comprehensive and holistic approach at the entire family and how the family is thinking and functioning, and how do we change and intervene with that? What is the pattern interrupt that's needed to change how you think so you can manifest different results for you and your children? So I want to know right now if this is resonating with anyone, or if you have any questions around this. Let me take a quick look at chat right now and see what's happening. All right. That was a long soliloquy. Let's take a look. Sola is asking for 5 pillars. Thank you, Sola. So check your message requests. Blessings says 5 pillars. Great. And in chat, if you're interested in working with us for you or your children, go ahead and book a call with us. In chat right now, there's a link to book a call. There's also a link that is posting at the bottom of this video. If you want to book a call to speak to a member of our team to see if and how we can help, that's how you would do that. Chris Reinhardt, who's an alumni, says, that's what I have done. The kids asked, how can you give up all of this food and say no to sugar and gluten? I tell them that it's easy because I want to live a long and healthy life. Exactly. Your children want to see you well. And when they see you well, they want to know what you're having. That is a natural response. And that is the most powerful and effective way to actually influence our kids, right? Lisa J says, I am praying my adult children will see vast improvement in my health and wellness emotionally, mentally, and physically. So all 7 of them will change the way they see and feel about food and exercise. Lisa's starting our program this week. So Lisa, you're going to be invited to an interview in 2 months, and you can show them and tell them what happened. I would love to see that, Lisa, inviting you to an interview now because we have an interview with an alumni once or twice a week. So I love sharing these real journeys. And I love the fact that Lisa will say this now, but in 2 months, you just wait what she's going to say in 2 months, right? Amanda says, I have found out that I have low thyroid that needed help. Damn straight, Amanda, right? She learned through having her child in the program. She learned for herself that she had an underactive thyroid. Congratulations, Amanda. Jen T says, an alumna in the program says, you won't regret it. Amanda says, we are all benefiting, no question. Juanita, who just started the program today, says, I'm just starting, son, hoping my changes. I'm hoping my changes will encourage my son. Again, Juanita, who just started the program literally today. I'm going to invite you to an interview in 2 months. Let's show everybody, including your son, right? I love this. Okay. And then someone else just said, at the time, 17-year-old changed her foods and followed right alongside with me in the program. Almost a year later, she's still doing it. Oh, that's an alumni in the program. Congratulations. Okay, so real people, real results. This was a very frank discussion because I am seeing a lot of lost parents in the Facebook group. And I consider our Facebook group the most educated set of parents on the planet around autoimmunity because of content like this, right? If you love content like this, I would love for you to put in the comment section, tell me just a little bit about one big aha that you learned on this. What was the one thing in this live that resonated with you about either preventing autoimmune issues, what are some early signs that could turn into could and will turn into autoimmune later? And the other thing is, those of you with children with known ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, right, RA, JRA, irritable bowel syndrome, you already know that they're talking to you about biologics. They're talking about you about hardcore drugs. Your kid is already having tons of autoimmune issues, and now you have to add medication side effects on top of it. So to me, this population about, if you have kids with known autoimmune issues is the same thing that I tell adults, but it's even more urgent because your kids aren't watching this, you are. So you have to act on their behalf. They're depending on you to get yourself educated and for you to take action. So in kids, I think that autoimmune issues present if they have known autoimmune disease, it's a very unique opportunity because this whole Godzilla while he's an egg is clearly an issue here. If your kid right now already have a JRA, rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's, right? And they're 6 or 16, this is an age where there is the least amount of permanent damage. Okay. Why wait till they're 36 to do something when half their colon's already out or half their small intestine's out? You as a parent ain't going to wait for that shit to happen, and neither am I or would I, right? So in an early intervention, our children present a unique opportunity for early intervention because this can really turn around that fast. I mean, look at, we had Tyler Walsh and Natalie Walsh. Natalie's his mom put Tyler, who was through our program, he had he was near death with his Crohn's. And as a mother, she went through the program with him and supported him. Complete turnaround. This is like 3 years later now, and Tyler's doing wonderful with his Crohn's and ankylosing spondylitis, etc. Sjogren's as well, I think, but I think he had AS as well. So as a parent, early intervention before more and more permanent damage happens is going to be really key. So we have a unique intervention time here because you're intervening early, number one. Number two is kids are incredibly resilient, even if they have autoimmune disease. And those of you who have had kids through our program know this, is that we see kids bounce back faster than adults. So believe it or not, the same intervention on an adult and a child will bounce back like in half the time versus an adult, which is incredible to see. The other thing is when they experience these results this quickly and this dramatic, their ability to say, I'm going to choose this for me, goes up sky high. And that's what we want to train our kids to do, is have that internal drive, internal pull, and internal discernment. Mandy was sharing with me about her daughter with the asthma and the Hashimoto's that yesterday she ate pizza at school that had gluten and immediately came home with severe tummy aches. And Olivia said to mom, I'm not going to have that pizza again. I'm not going to eat gluten at school anymore. So That's 1,000 times more valuable than Mandy screaming and hollering at Olivia, don't eat gluten, don't eat gluten, don't eat gluten. This kid's going to cheat all the time. That's all you do is tell them. In this scenario, she had her own data. She got educated. She also had cause and effect. She tried it, and guess what happened? She chose for herself. It's never going to happen again for her, which I think is beautiful, right? And also in Olivia's case, she figured out dairy was a trigger for her asthma, removed the dairy, haven't had to use a rescue inhaler in a month, right? And this has never happened. So she knows that if she eats the dairy again, she's going to need her rescue inhaler. She knows cause and effect. And so it's really cool to watch a 9-year-old experience such rapid change and results. And then the other thing is, even when there's a oopsie, something happened, it's just additional data with which it reinforces what they learned. So this becomes internalized in their choice. They have just made their kids incredibly powerful, so that on their watch, on my watch, Olivia is never going to get another autoimmune disease or progression of her current autoimmune issues or her asthma, right? We have a choice to be incredibly powerful as parents, to do early intervention and to educate them, and also allow their own experiences to reinforce them and validate them, so it becomes their choice, their lifestyle, their results, their health journey. They learn to be the pilot and no longer the passenger. So I'm just showing some examples with which people in our programs have really turned around and stopped autoimmunity in its tracks for their kids, but also have trained their kids to have that level of power and confidence with which to approach the rest of their health, the rest of their life, right? And on our watch, that egg ain't never going to be Godzilla. Right? Is this resonating with you? I'd love to take a look and see what's going on here. Juanita says, ready. Brenda says, in the program, I learned that UTIs can be a sign of gluten intolerance. Yes, Brenda, you're giving my secret sauce away. I took my 9-year-old daughter off gluten and she's had no more UTIs. Hot damn, Brenda, you didn't tell me that. She's in the alumni group, graduated from our program probably about 6 months ago. And yes, that's the kind of like ahas and secret sauce I love teaching. She's prevented a lifelong of UTIs in her child, in her 9-year-old, by understanding the role of gluten in dealing with UTIs in women. So fascinating, right? Lindsay said, who's in the program graduating right now, I learned that behavioral and ADHD can be a precursor to autoimmune. Hell yes. Also really enjoyed the stories and hearing from people whose children have naturally mirrored their parents' new eating habits. 100%. Thank you. And I'm loving the program and already seeing huge results in myself. Oh, Lindsay, I love it. Thank you so much. And then Cecilia is talking about pans and pandas. Exactly. We've had a lot of parents who have had kids who have pans and pandas, which is an autoimmune syndrome triggered by a bacterial strep infection, right? And these kids are chronically treated in infectious disease clinics with antibiotics over and over again, which we already know multiple rounds of antibiotics increases the risk of autoimmunity, gut issues, allergy issues, like 100-fold, right? But yeah, we're putting these kids with infection issues on antibiotics over and over again, and we're starting to develop post-infection related complications of autoimmunity. So PANS and PANDAS is a result of recurrent bacterial infections that can trigger autoimmunity. So Cecilia, you're in the program right now. So thank you for sharing this with other parents whose kids have recurrent infections or have PANS or PANDAS, right? Someone else wrote, my daughter was born with severe allergy to dairy and protein. Yeah, there's a lot of these issues in kids whose parents have autoimmunity. They tend to have a lot more allergy related issues. So I'm loving that you guys are enjoying this content, and I'm seeing that some of you are writing these ahas. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope this is helpful. What I'm going to tell you right now is that I hope that this already raises your awareness level tenfold. So you're already on the lookout and you're seeing this, because your doctors will never make the connection these are even related to autoimmunity or early signs. And for those of you who are already struggling with kids with autoimmune issues, or you yourself have it, book a call with our team if you want to chat with us to see if and how we can help. There's a link below and above. If you haven't watched the 5 Pillars training, which Mandy as a parent says is a must for every parent, type 5 Pillars into chat right now and check your message requests, and our team will be sending you some resources to check that out. So I hope that was super helpful for you guys. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group, make sure you join the Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. I'm Maggie, MD, functional and holistic medicine physician, and signing off tonight. Hope that was helpful, everybody.